Welcome back, everyone, to Third Street Reactions. I'm Zach.
I'm Shane.
We are back with Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Season 6, Episode 12. Chronological order, I don't know.
Last episode we had Yoda. He was,
Yeah,
he was hearing all these things calling out to him, and the Jedi Order think he's crazy. Anakin, out of all people, helps him escape, and he does good at Dagobah. He has his own little trial.
Yeah, Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
He's talking to him.
obviously Qui-Gon makes a great appearance in Kenobi, but like at this point in Star Wars history, like, we didn't think there's going to be any more movies, and it's like, oh my God, they got Liam Neeson. We already got him for the Mortis trilogy, and then we got him again. But the Mortis trilogy, it's
not really him. Not really Qui-Gon.
I don't think it is Qui-Gon actually, but.
Well,
we know it wasn't Shmi. That was the son.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon, I think it is him. And the reason why he has his physical form... Actually, no. He has his physical form later on in Kenobi, but at first he doesn't have it. It takes time. Mm-hmm. No, it was kind of a win for fans, I think. And Yoda, he's doing something semi-important here. I don't want to get too much into that, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, before we jump in, if you want to support us, check us out on Patreon. We have a full-length, uncut reaction on there. That's the crazy ones where Zach's jumping them down. I don't put those in. I'm saying them for Patreon. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't jump over.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, we appreciate you. Man, we're going to be starting Season 7 here soon. And it's a doozy. But I think this is a doozy myself. I haven't seen these since I watched them when they came out with Eric. Literally. I didn't really review them for these episodes and take notes. I'm going to be kind of reacting to it as well. So, anyways, guys, we're jumping in.
Death is just the best fucking nod of the mummy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Is that a custom for him?
It's awfully small, yeah.
Do you think they would mass produce different sizes, though? That's the thing.
I don't know, because Vader had his TIE fighter specially built for him.
It's still the size of a person, though.
I guess it could be mass produced for people like smaller Jedi.
Yeah.
With the one little Russian dude.
Yeah, the guy who died during the Tarkin episode, Prison Break, after they froze themselves in carbonite.
Let the Force guide. I will.
I can only do that if I was Yoda.
Awake again you are, my little friend. Where we are, I'm not sure, but strong with the Force. This place is.
I'm wondering where this is, since we've already been to like another galaxy.
From inside the planet, life emanates.
In the Mortis trilogy, we kind of go to this different metaphysical...
It's like a plane.
Yeah.
Plane resistance.
Need this. I will not. No. Wait here, you must. Safer here you are, my friend.
So he's been hanging out.
I'd be a little freaked out.
It's like where Dr. Robotnik ends up in the Sonic movie.
Yeah, I remember that. I literally thought it was like a Mario crossover they're doing.
No.
I just did not know what they were doing.
Who is there? Traveled far, I have. Looking for those who can teach me.
The question is, are you worthy of being taught? You are late.
Late? How did you know coming I was?
We watch and study all who are strong with the Force in the universe. Now come, we are to begin.
Filoni's an avid Zelda player, I guess. Yeah, sounded a little too
Sinister.
organic, I think.
Cousins, I have a guest. You should not have brought her before us.
Look at the
Why are you here?
expressions of emotion on their faces.
Yep.
Told I was to learn from you. How to manifest my life after death.
Oh no. No, I do not see that.
His destiny is already set. It is not for us to decide.
But why him?
He is to teach one that will save the universe from a great imbalance. For this, the great gift will be his.
Understand. I do not. Guide me. I know you will.
And you realize what you must do.
No.
Good. Then you won't be afraid.
Cycles you are.
You come to us with only good intention and light in your heart.
I do. Yeah.
And the blessing I give and the training will begin.
Bunch of goddamn witches.
I think I got borderline personality disorder because we're all like, when an emotion's being felt, and that is.
That when they're talking. Same voice. But they don't really interrupt each other.
What is this place?
The birthplace of what Jewish science calls midichlorians. The foundation of what connects the living force and the cosmic force. When a living thing dies, all is renewed.
This I know.
Come with me. At death, in order for you to preserve your identity, you must know yourself. Your true self.
A Jedi Master I am. Know all that dwells within, I do. Mastered my weaknesses and conquered my fears. I have.
Have you? You must face your evil on that island and defeat it.
Kind of the hubris he had a little bit, you know? I think it's an interesting choice to have Yoda be like that.
Gremlin.
Show yourself. Yoda, it's me. Yes. Yoda plays not with me anymore. Thinks me not worthy. See not what is inside Yoda? I choose not to give you power. Face me now, or I will devour you. Part of me, you are not. Part of you, I am. Part of all that lives. Why do you hate what gives you power? Recognize you, I do. Part of me you are. Yes. Power over me, you have not through patience and training. It is I who control you. Control over me, you have not. My dark side, you are. Reject you, I do.
And I figured it had to be something like that when he defeats him, not physical combat.
You have conquered your hubris. Now face the temptations you must.
Rest a little, I shoot. You know?
What you faced was a reflection of your hubris in the shadow of your soul.
And yet, clear, I thought I was.
Deep in your core, you felt that we had nothing to teach you. But you must trust in our teachings.
Ready I am for what comes next.
You must enter the valley of extinction.
Yeah, there's a one back there again.
Pass through without emotion, without attraction.
Is that one on the right?
Yeah.
For we are confusion, anger, sadness, joy,
And serenity.
Just saying. There's nothing. That's like this. I really like that dark Link, Yoda looking dude though. He's cool looking.
It's like a Gollum look, Yoda.
Master, I'm dying.
What has happened to your Padawan? Who has done this?
The Sith, you told me I would finish my training to become a Jedi, but the Council expelled me. Why would you do that? Will I still become one, Master? Will I be a Jedi?
Padawan. Ahsoka. No. No, not strong enough I was. Failed I have. Failed them all.
Master Yoda, let me take you away from your confusion. Never know sadness. Close your eyes, and I will guide you. The temple is beautiful, isn't it, Master Yoda?
Yes. So peaceful as it was before the war.
Oh, there is no war here, Master. Only peace and tranquility.
No war.
Peace in my drawers right now. War.
Master Dooku was just telling us a tale of when he was your Padawan. Really quite a humorous story.
Count Dooku.
Yes, Master. I was telling them the tale of when you faced the giant Talentatech on Kashyyyk. What a terrible beast it was.
I remember.
We had wonderful adventures, Master Yoda and I.
I'm sure we'd all love to hear more, but it's time to join the others.
Coming, Master.
No. Wrong this is. Lies these images are. Dead I know you to be. On Naboo. Died you did, Qui-Gon. And a traitor you are, my old Padawan.
It's a cool image.
No. An illusion this is. A falsehood.
You have done well, but to succeed, your life must be spent learning.
Please, show me who you are.
Now you see.
Dead you are?
Yes.
How shall I complete my training?
You must face the ultimate test, the gravest of journeys.
You will travel to Moribond.
Moriband.
Journey through the ancient homeworld of the Sith. All that you fear. All that haunts your soul!
Hello, my friend. One more place to visit we have.
That thing like would increase the weight of that thing by like 30%.
A strange place I have come from, but finished not what I came for. Set a course for Moriband.
I thought it was Korriban. It was always Moribond.
No, there was always both. And George always hated Korriban and the idea of it and what they did in the EU. So he doubled down on Moribond. And then Jamie King, that's that really hot blonde girl. I know you know who she is if you saw a picture of her.
Where's she from? How do I know she's a really hot blonde girl?
So she is in Joe Dirt, Chandler Park, hot blonde girl that he's in bed with for a bit.
They had, yeah, okay, yeah.
And
yeah.
she's
pretty smoking.
She's a smoke show. Yeah.
She is.
I've seen it before, but Zach, what did you think? Your first thoughts?
For me, it's weird seeing Yoda go on things like this.
Yeah.
We weren't the ones to see it in theaters and have that grand old experience, but to have seen the old trilogy and just know him as the little man that's hanging out in the swamp.
Yeah, and
that's where I like my Yoda. And so
he already knows everything.
Yeah. So to see him in the new trilogy, the prequel trilogy and things, like, to me, it's just kind of, I mean, it was... I don't remember being, blown out of my seat when he first started fighting Dooku.
Yeah.
This fight, I know, with Sidious in 3, I liked.
Yeah, well, I remember in 2, I remember sitting there going, Zach, and you going, shh, shh. I remember you doing that. I just clearly remember you doing that.
So.
Yeah.
I don't really. That's why.
You went,
that's why
listen,
I said.
You went, listen.
That's why I said I didn't remember.
Yeah.
So, but
no, like
either way, to see him going on these little missions and things, and he's kind of like, okay, well, I just would have assumed, leading up to that point, that he was the one that figured it out. He's the one that knew, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to go through all these trials and tribulations. But it is kind of cool to be going to Moribond and things like that. So.
Yeah, I like the idea that he kind of arrogantly thought that you can't retain... So up until this point, the Jedi they know for a fact that you can't retain your identity after.
The hubris.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's just how it is. And to want more than that is evil. Mm-hmm. Like, that is what the Sith want. Mm-hmm. We are Jedi, we're enlightened, and we can let go. Mm-hmm. But there is like an enlightened way of that, and it's like, oh yeah, you can be good and still retain your consciousness and not be fucking this evil piece of shit who's holding on to life. Because the Sith, that's all they have, and they need to be, and they need it. Mm-hmm. They need their passion. They need to be in control, and but there is a way, and obviously we know that that enlightened way of thinking is also kind of what he teaches Luke a little bit. He leaves out the celibacy thing and says you're going to be the first of the new type of Jedi. Mm-hmm. What do you say? The last of the Jedi I will be when I die, or something. But you will be a new type of Jedi, or the first of the Jedi you will be.
No, I thought he said that when I die, the last of the Jedi will you be.
Yeah. Oh, and then he says, so I am a Jedi.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Yoda spoke of another. Like they're
Yeah.
open everything and you talk about, you know.
Yeah.
Yoda spoke was your twin sister.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of this episode was the episode where the portion, but the part by the tree.
Yeah.
And they all go up into the tree after that.
No, visually that was the coolest part,
really
and
cool.
you know, and I imagine Yoda, like, that would be a dream come true. Like, Qui-Gon didn't get killed, and his star pupil, like the greatest duelist in the history of the Order, didn't turn evil. You know, and but that's not how it went. You know, it's a lie. So I do like that stuff. I like the idea of also the priestesses. I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're all right. They had a cool look. They kind of fall into that category for me with seeing Yoda on these little missions and things. I could take or leave them.
Yeah.
The metaphysical stuff.
Yeah.
As its delivery, and you know, I get it. I like the fact that what you mentioned, or you know, we talked about was his hubris and dealing with that.
Yeah.
Seeing it plainly, and that he still had room to grow, even though he's almost 900 years old.
Yeah, like he doesn't know everything there is to know about the Force. And Qui-Gon at some point came and passed these trials at some point, is from what I understand. Then he doesn't, and but I mean, obviously you know from Revenge of the Sith, he doesn't know everything.
He died before he knew everything, basically.
Yeah, when you watch Revenge of the Sith, you also know that Yoda does know something. He learned it from Qui-Gon.
Oh.
Yeah. Or he.
I was thinking something.
Yeah. So you know, one thing I liked about the Clone Wars in particular that I feel like kind of Rebels lacks a little bit was George got to explore some of those ideas that he always wanted to do with like the metaphysical stuff, and that's not just like old sci-fi, which is like futuristic, dirty sci-fi, which is people love that, and the father-son stuff. He wanted to do the metaphysical stuff. He wanted to do, you know, the Mortis trilogy, with the son and the father.
That's one thing of Star Wars for me is like that's what I want out of Star Wars. I want the dirty, futuristic, you know, old 70s sci-fi. That's what I want from it.
Yeah.
And when it gives me this other stuff, I mean, I can take it or leave it. I'm not saying it's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's not what I want to get. I want more, like what Andor gave me.
Yeah, I get that. I just, I feel like not very many things do that better than Star Wars.
But Ahsoka did start tapping into the kind of the sword and sorcery aspect of Star Wars.
Arthurian is the word you use, I think.
Arthurian, kind of Arthurian romantic. They've got the witches and the Balins, the evil knight, and you have like the very obvious Lord of the Rings draws, and
Filoni is pretty obsessed with that.
Like the Stonehenge feel.
Yeah, when they were in that one area where they were.
So like that kind of shit, I thought that series delivered well on. That was a nice, refreshing taste of something Star Wars could give. Yeah. I don't need the of gods and men stuff for the Mortis thing, but I get it. Now that you've dealt with with Vader bringing balance to the Force, well, Luke doing it, but Vader more or less doing it. Yeah. And Luke redeeming Vader. Now that you've dealt with that, what's the next big thing? Where can you take it in Star Wars? Because the original trilogy pretty much gave you that. So the sequel trilogy to me is kind of. Yeah. You know what I mean? I kind of wish they could make that go away and do something different with Thrawn as the next big bad, because you have no real. You had Snoke, you had the Emperor just come back. There was nothing new about it.
Yeah, the books do a better job, which I know. Remember Adam Satterwhite's kids? They've only seen episode 4 and they don't like it. They've read most of the books and they said that is Star Wars to me. Is the books they're better? They're getting the characters' heads. They explain things better. I remember thinking, well, don't watch Revenge of the Sith then, because that's like their favorite one. You know what I mean? I think the movie would disappoint them.
Yeah, the book was really good.
Yeah, but they've just seen 4 and they say like it just looks old and the acting is bad. That's what they all think. It's weird. They like the books.
They experienced it under different circumstances than us.
Yeah,
I know the first time I experienced when I was first told about Star Wars.
Yeah.
some kid had brought toys, like little micro machines, into daycare. I'm like, what are these? They're awesome. And they told me about them, and like holy shit. And then like that, I would just hear things about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. You didn't really have access to anything to learn.
It's like when it's like during the dark times before episode 1.
Yeah.
It's like when it's when they outlawed Christianity and they were like meeting together, passing around little scriptures.
Yeah. So
you hear these bits and pieces. If this is Jesus guy, what is this Star Wars? I need to know more about it.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything about it. And finally, we got to watch it.
Yeah.
And then around that time for us, the prequels came out, and the saber duels especially and things. Like, that really drew us in.
When I was a really little kid, I think I thought the old ones were a little boring. I saw episode 4 before The Phantom Menace. I remember thinking, I hope The Phantom Menace is better than this.
Well, I remember the toys were awesome.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what
I remember playing
me.
role-playing games with you outside. Mm-hmm. We didn't call them role-playing games, but that's where we were just playing pretend, right?
Yeah.
And you would say, I could be a hut, and you tried to describe to me, and you would be, I don't know what you, I mean, we were all different things, and we would just do what kids do, I guess, right? I didn't see him for years later, and then I remember seeing The Phantom Menace, and going, that fucking thing? What would be that? You can't even do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you said it's a hut, I thought it was like there's like a Final Fantasy VII villain, where it's like this little house that you confront.
Yeah, I remember.
And it's like this demon house. It's like this hut that goes around? Like a hut.
But hut because it confronts you in like the junkyard, right? Or the train yard? Like when you're trying to go to the trains and shit, and you're going down through there.
I believe so, yes.
The slums or
whatever. The slums, yeah. It is in Midgar for sure.
Yeah.
What is this thing doing here?
What are these
Japanese doing?
The ridiculous things they would have you fight.
It is known to be the most ridiculous one. But some people think it is like, that's why they love that one the most. That and the villain, you know.
Well, Sephiroth?
Sephiroth, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's such a cool, unique story to that villain.
I really love it. I want you to play the remakes. The old one, I mean, I know, you played halfway through, or...
I played up to the part where you have to go to that little place and you fight the little armies.
Yeah.
And you have the little army guys going up and you pick your...
Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, they have showed the trailer, and that game is back, except it's like meticulously advanced and like way better.
Really?
And they say it's I don't know if it's gonna be optional. It's optional in the original, but because when we were playing it in the original, it's like, wow, they put like this little fun game within a game, and you can go to the Gold Saucer, which is like this amusement park, and there's all these little mini games there. They're like kind of like, if it was like a game that you would buy, it'd be a terrible game. It's like a snowboard.
But the fact that it's in there.
And yeah, it was like the first thing ever to do that. And they said they're doing that, and they're making them like next gen, like worthwhile mini games. So, but yeah, it's like a very strategic game. Like they said, they've made it 10 times more strategic and harder. Well, the game that you're talking about, the one with the mountain. Yeah.
Well, now anyway, you get back to the dark times there before we watched Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember I had a big 12-inch Darth Vader figure.
Yeah.
And it just said on there he dueled with Obi-Wan and basically fell into a volcano.
Yeah.
And it's like it didn't give you a lot of details. There's so much you could fill in with your imagination. It was so cool. And they started giving you all those answers and laying it all out. It's like, actually, there's midichlorians. And like, fuck off.
Well, midichlorians was always there.
It doesn't matter. He never brought them up.
Well, it said that in episode 4, the original, or episode 5, the book, that it's in the blood. The Jedi have special blood they pass on to their kids.
Yeah, it wasn't in the movies.
Well, yeah, but you can't say like 20 years later after he got older, he brought in some weird scientific mumbo jumbo.
It wasn't in the movies.
That was always there. And then
they call them midichlorians. He's like,
Well, they weren't called. I don't know what they were called. I think the midichlorians was an older thing, but I think. Like well,
sometimes I'm just saying it. You can have the idea, but it doesn't mean it's always good.
They give us I think something new like this. I feel like with the priestesses. Like I think that to me, I always thought was really cool. I felt like as an idea, I haven't really seen a lot, especially in Star Wars. But in sci-fi, we don't see that ever because there's not a lot of sci-fi fantasy.
Well, there is, but not a lot of it's in film.
Yeah, my personal experience is like Star Wars is the one I know.
Yeah.
And then I have just Star Trek, and then I have sci-fi, and then I have fantasy.
Well, sci-fi fantasy, yeah.
Yeah, like to me, like
you have Dune.
Yeah, and admittedly, George, that inspired him quite a bit, and I haven't seen it or read it, and I want to.
The first book, I guess book 1 and book 2, but like the main core original books, they're good. The second one kind of gets a little fast-paced and kind of choppy towards the end. It's kind of like it's almost like he either didn't have all the ideas to fill in the gaps, or he was on a deadline and had to get it done. It's like one or the other, because it just kind of seems like once he gets to a certain point of everything he wanted to cover, it's like, okay, now all this happens at the end.
Yeah,
so you're sliding into home base.
You know, I guess what I'm saying is, like, when I get to this stuff, like when I get to have some fantasy injected into my sci-fi, I don't.
The whole thing is meant to be kind of fantastical in terms of regarding sci-fi. Because usually sci-fi is kind of leans a lot heavier on like that, like fucking math. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah, it's just futuristic stuff. Everything's real clean and prim.
Yeah,
and it's usually dealing with it's like reflections of society. Like they're writing like
social.
Yeah, like they're write Star Trek, and it's like this big commie paradise, and that wouldn't happen because it's not the right way. So,
it's not.
And George said he wanted to do like he wanted to adapt it and make like a space opera fantasy. He wanted to have wizards and knights with swords, but they're laser swords instead of regular swords. You know.
And for better or worse, because Star Wars has made mistakes, but that's because it's so big that it can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Lord of the Rings. It benefits from having a much richer and deeper lore, but at the same time, it's because he wrote the books, and they stayed books.
Yeah.
They stayed books for a very long time.
Yeah.
And George started out with his movies, and then people wanted to build.
And then they became books. Funny enough.
Yeah, and then people wanted to expand and build on that, and it just took off.
Yeah.
And it took off at a different kind of time when Lord of the Rings came out. It just was a different kind of animal, and it got so big so fast.
Yeah.
That there's gonna be a lot of bad ideas in there. But there's a lot of good ones too.
Absolutely.
So
he's not done with his journey. He has to become the Yoda that we know in Episode 5, but he's not going to change immensely. He's pretty much that Yoda already.
I noticed that the Shadow Yoda,
the
Dark Yoda, sounded a lot more like the whimsical Yoda we know on Dagobah in the old trilogy.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I was actually wondering at first, like, did they get Frank Oz to come back and mess around with that? Because he actually said he wanted to play Yoda, but his schedule was too rigorous.
Yeah.
And then he approved of this guy, which it's weird. He sounds so much different to me.
He does.
But I still at this point, I've heard him so much, I kind of accept. Oh, that's Yoda.
Well,
Yoda.
I know it's Yoda. It doesn't sound like him, like obviously what you know him to be in the movies. But it's Yoda.
I know it's Yoda. Says whatever that means. I agree.
You know what it means. Like you're just gonna make yourself accept it.
Yeah, like I accept that that's Yoda, but if I think about it.
I didn't sit there and listen to it and think, oh man, that's not him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell, but I know it's supposed to be Yoda, so I'm just assigning that role.
It's not one of those things to where when they recast a character and it's like, oh shit, this is weird. You know?
Kind of like when they replaced what's her name in the Batman films, Nolan's Batman films.
Yeah. Yeah, that girl, she fucked up. Katie Holmes. She made some movie that was a little passion project for her, and it did terrible.
Dude, she was in Thank You for Smoking with Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah.
You see her tits.
Really? How they look?
They're nice.
God, that's great.
You see them like jiggling.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, because it's a sex scene.
Maybe she didn't want to run into him or something like that.
Big Tom Cruise is like, hey, you're not getting in that movie.
Yeah.
So maybe not.
And we got Ahsoka back. Ashley Eckstein, who, if you think about it, they ended the show and then they came back with episodes, and she hasn't been in any of them for this season.
Mm-hmm.
And there's supposed to be a lot more. I don't know what those were going to entail. I know some of them have been adapted, some of them have changed, and I think Filoni said he's confident there are some fun one-offs that he said we'll never see the light of day, but he said the main story actually is better now.
Okay.
Ahsoka, she goes on. She is in her own show and she makes appearances and other things. But I mean that's pretty much it. I think they're not my favorite stuff in the world, but they're pretty big arcs for in terms of the Force and like the important stuff for Yoda and for Qui-Gon and all that stuff. Like that has to. Because the big thing with the Jedi not being able to live, not being able to, I think there needs to be an answer to that at some point.
Yeah.
Or because what happens is they just show up as a Force ghost. Like, shit, you can do this. Can everyone do this? Why do you get to do it?
Yeah.
Is every Jedi a ghost? And there's a reason for that. Oh yeah, no, never mind. Corey Burton. I knew he played Dooku. I always associate him with Cad Bane more, even though I don't know. They're both very cool.
No, I mean they're just very different characters.
Yeah. So when I was asking you in Rebels, like, there's just probably no way you would have known that was Spike Spiegel.
No.
Yeah.
I even forgot who Steve Blum was. He reminded me. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I went to Star Wars Celebration. He was there, and people were also bringing their Cowboy Bebop stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, they were bringing it to him. Mm-hmm. He's like, all right, come on. Star Wars. We're Star Wars folks. Come on.
I know, but you get an opportunity, though.
Yeah.
It's like how many times... I guess, I don't know. Star Wars Celebration's out west, right?
There was one in New York, I thought, and there's one in Cali, and there's one in Europe, and there's one in Japan. The next one's in Japan.
I'm not talking about any of the ones outside of the good old US of A. So,
oh, yeah, it's
New
like,
York or they're really big cities.
Yeah.
So, your opportunities to meet somebody like that if you're really wanting to get...
Well, he was at a table that was next to like a couple ones down. So, like, when you get up there, like, they're all in a row.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I want to go to, like, Tamir Morrison, I got to wait in a big line. It's going to take 4 hours. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, 4 hours out of, like, an 8-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes it shitty.
Yeah, it's just like there's no. I mean, that's one way. That's one way that he actually. That's a big part of his income. He says he goes to fan conventions. Mm-hmm. As someone who wants to meet him, I'm going to complain. I'm not going to complain and shit on him. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I feel like a lot of times the ones I want to meet, though, like I should have walked up and met him, but the fucking cast of Boondock Saints was at a convention I went to when I was peddling art.
And I never got caught neither.
Norman Reedus.
Yeah, I love him. He's cool.
Of course, the guy that played his brother. I can't remember that fucking guy's name. And David Della Rocco was there.
Yeah.
And no one was in line for David Della Rocco.
Really?
There were a few guys
I figured people would be for him. He's really cool.
There's a few guys in line for the brother, and then a huge fucking line for Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
And there was nobody in line for David Della Rocco. And, like, I don't know if it was because of the circumstances, but he was the only one I wanted to meet out of the group.
Yeah.
Like, I could care, like, whatever, you're Norman Reedus, I get it. Mm-hmm. And, the other guy, I mean, I'm sorry, but you were kind of overshadowed here. But but David Della Rocco would have been cool. Because he's the impact he had in that first film.
I think he had the coolest, he had, like, the most intense, funniest thing.
Yeah. He's the one, like, if you didn't have him in that movie, it probably would have been it would just have been a 90s shoot 'em up.
Two brothers on.
Yeah. But if he's the one that made the difference in that movie.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, there's a lot of movies like that where some guy has this very short, significant role and it makes a film.
But he's not.
But if it was
short,
just
though, he's throughout.
Yeah, he gets killed, doesn't he?
At the very end.
Yeah. Damn.
Because the mafia guy kills him. There's only one thing.
I heard the second movie's pretty good.
It's not as good as the first, but it's good.
There's a third movie too. I heard the third's better than the second.
Oh, also, of course, Willem Dafoe.
Oh yeah. Was he there?
Nah, he wasn't. No. I just meant
he'd be big. Yeah.
He played a part in making that movie what it was too.
Yeah. Longest talking.
Obviously, that's all we've got.
Yeah, longest talking in the world. He's in the middle of his journey. A lot of magical fantasy elements that are starting to come in more. I mean, we've had them before, but it's rare. I always want more. If we had too much, it'd be can't too much.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, see you next week.